So our reading for today is from the 7 Spiritual Laws for Success by Deepak Chopra. And he says, the second spiritual law of success is the law of giving. This law could only be called the law of giving and receiving because the universe operates through dynamic exchange. Nothing is ever static. The flow of life is nothing other than the harmonious interaction of all the elements and forces that structure the field of existence. This harmonious interaction of elements and forces in your life operate as the law of giving and receiving. Because your body and your mind and the universe are in constant and dynamic exchange, stopping the circulation of energy is like stopping the flow of blood. Whenever blood stops flowing, it begins to clot, to coagulate, to stagnate. This is why you must give and receive in order to keep wealth and affluence or anything you want in your life circulating in your life. And so it is. So I ask you just...
So, my talk title, Giving and Receiving. So as the title implies, we're going to be talking about two separate and yet intimately connected ideas, giving and receiving. Now, we here at the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, we often talk about giving. In fact, I spoke about one kind of giving, tithing, during the first Sunday of the month. Actually, really, I was reminded it was the last Sunday of last month, but I snuck it in there a little early. But giving, however, is really about more than the giving of money. To give is to freely transfer the possession of something to someone, to hand over to, or to supply or provide with. Now, each and every single one of us here this morning has the ability and the resources to give. We can choose to give of our love or our knowledge or our laughter or our wisdom or our understanding or our creativity or our time or our money or our skills or our touch or of ourselves to someone and something. We can choose to give the gift of kindness or the gift of acceptance or the gift of understanding or the gift of compassion or the gift of respect or the gift of attentive listening. The list is endless. We can give to ourselves, we can give to our families, we can give to our friends, we can give to our coworkers, we can give to our various communities, we can give to nonprofit organizations, or we can give to the planet. Again, the list is endless. Now, there are very, very many benefits to giving. We will experience deeper, more reciprocal, more authentic relationships. Giving is a part of the process of really developing and creating relationships because giving really reduces self-centeredness. It can make you feel more connected to other people. And this connection will reduce fear and feelings of isolation. We will experience improved physical health and mental and emotional well-being. Research shows us that giving enhances our immune system. It actually lowers our cholesterol level. It strengthens our hearts. It decreases incidence of chest pain and, in general, reduces stress. Giving can give us a sense of empowerment, pride, or accomplishment. It can boost our happiness quotient and make us more keenly aware of the peace and the unconditional love that is all around us at all times. While there are many benefits, the paradox to giving is that if we give expecting a reward, we will not get one. But when we give with joy, with selflessness, with respect, and with unconditional love, the benefits will just keep pouring into our lives. The attitude that we bring to our giving is reflected in the benefits that we receive. When we give to others, or when we give of ourselves to some meaningful cause, then things change. We begin to expect more of ourselves. We begin to discover new feelings of self-worth. We begin to really tap into our true gifts and talents. And when we do that, we begin to really reach our fullest potential. As Gandhi once said, to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. Now, the theme for the month of October is prosperity, abundance, and wealth. And the truth is that each of us can live a rich life, an abundant life, and a prosperous life if we choose to do so. Philosopher and theologian Cornel West says, a rich life consists fundamentally of serving others, trying to leave the world a little better than you found it. Now, here at the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living, we are a giving community, really deeply giving community. Each and every person in this room this morning has given to this community in some way or another. If you have ever given of your leadership and your wisdom as a member of the Leadership Council, please stand up. Ever. If you give of your time and your love, and you can keep standing, please. Ain't nobody told you to sit down yet. Now, if you have ever given of your time and love by serving on a sacred service team, whether that team is the production team or the AV team or the music ministry or the hospitality team, please stand up. If you have ever given of your consciousness in prayer as a member of the practitioner corps, please stand up. If you have ever given of your time and talent by teaching a class or giving a workshop, please stand up. She's so excited. She's standing up. If you are committed to your giving of your financial treasure to this community, please stand up. If you give of your joy and your insight to the youth and family ministry, please stand up. If you are here for the very first time, or you are here for the 100th and first time, and you have ever given anyone a smile, a handshake, or a hug, please stand up. Now just take a look around this room, and what is true as you stand here looking at everyone is that the prosperity, the abundance, and the wealth of this community is reflective of the consciousness of giving. And as you look around here, you can see that we are truly incredibly abundant. Thank you, everyone. Now, the funny thing about giving is that there can be no giving if there is no receiver. That in order for giving to occur, there has to be a receiver. Now, one cannot exist without the other one, that they are intimately connected. They work together like two sides of the same coin. Now, in order to keep the energy and the prosperity flowing, we have to keep the energy in circulation. And that means that we have to participate on both ends of that process, the giving and the receiving. For example, take your breath. Everyone just close your eyes for a moment and notice your breathing. Notice how at the end of every exhale that you are giving out into the universe, there is an inhale right there, ready to be received. Now try only giving. Just breathe out and out and out and out. How long did it take before you needed to receive a breath? And the same is absolutely true if you were to attempt to just keep breathing in and breathing in and breathing in. At some point in time, you would eventually have to breathe out that breath, give it out into the universe in order to be able to receive another breath. They are intimately connected. Yet many of us grew up believing that it was more noble to give than to receive, that it was somehow more spiritual to give than to receive, that to receive things from people, whether it is their time or their talent or their treasure, means that we are somehow less competent, that we are less capable, that we really should be able to do everything on our own. And so we go through life focusing on giving and actually trying to avoid receiving like the plague. We may believe that it's selfish to receive, that life is more about suffering than it is about being happy, that it's better to be self-effacing and not put too much attention on yourself by being the recipient of too many gifts. Or we may feel a self-imposed pressure to reciprocate. Or we may suspect somehow the giver's motives. What is it that they want from me? Now, sometimes we find it more difficult to receive than to give because receiving creates a moment of connection, a moment of intimacy between ourselves and the giver. Prioritizing giving over receiving may be a really convenient way in order to keep others distant from us and to keep our hearts defended. So the invitation this morning is to allow in, to receive that connection. Because it's really, in the end, if you think about it, it's all that we ever are really looking for from the very beginning, is that connection, that kind of intimacy. We may feel that when we give, we are somehow in control, more in control than when we receive, because giving a compliment or giving someone a bunch of flowers may be easy to do, but allowing ourselves to surrender to the really good feeling of receiving and accepting a gift asks us to be vulnerable. And perhaps it's asking us to be more vulnerable than we're willing to be. So the question to ask ourselves is, how can we surrender to the really big gifts that life has to offer if we are unwilling or unable to surrender to the little gifts that the little small everyday gifts that are being given to us by life or by those people that are around us? How can we do that? We may choose giving over receiving because we fear that there are strings to attach to that giving. It may have been that way when we were growing up. We may have had a sense that we were only complimented or we only received gifts when we had accomplished something. That we weren't acknowledged just for being who we were, that we had to accomplish something, and then in the accomplishing of that something, we were complimented or we were given a gift. But the invitation to remember is that those things that we told ourselves when we were a child, those things that we told ourselves out of an experience that we were having are not the truth of who we are. They are not the truth of our lives. The invitation is to let go of old, worn-out beliefs that are no longer serving us. So right here, right now, as you are sitting here, what is your consciousness of receiving? If it's if it is really, truly that important, if it is so intricately tied into this idea of giving, then what is your consciousness of receiving? Are you open and available to receive all that life has to give and to receive it in all of the ways that it gives it? As I was preparing for my message this morning, I found a Sunday sermon from a Unity Church of Lehigh Valley. Now, during the sermon, the minister did something that I absolutely loved, and I really wanted each of you to experience it for yourselves this morning. Because what I know about experiencing something is that there's much more revelation in the experiencing than just simply sitting up here and listening to me ramble on. Well, sometimes. Did everybody receive an envelope? Don't open them yet. If you did not receive an envelope, please raise your hand and we can get one to you. Everybody has an envelope. Now, the Triangle Center for Spiritual Living is a giving, tithing community. Each and every month, we tithe 10% of all that we receive to the person, place, or institution from which we receive our spiritual food. Now, Edwene Gaines, the queen of prosperity, says that it is perfectly fine to divide up that tithe and to give it to more than one person, place, or institution. Therefore, a portion of our October tithe is being given back to the community. Each of you inspire us and teach us simply by your presence. You inspire and teach us through your example, through your consciousness, through your sharing, through your questions, and through your heartfelt generosity. Without each of you, there would be no Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. So in this moment, I invite you to open your envelope and to look at what is inside. For those of you watching this service at home, I know that in this moment, the universe is also giving to you. In some way, in some form, it is also giving to you. So without any judgment or any censorship or any hesitation, what was the very first thing you thought when you opened that envelope and looked inside? Cool. The very first thought. Now, some of you may have thought, I don't deserve this. Maybe it's your first time here. I don't deserve this. I didn't do anything to earn it. Sometimes we have a belief that we can only receive in measure to that which we have earned, that we had to do something for our good. Now, isn't it interesting that we can always find ways to convince ourselves that we're not worthy of our good? What I want you to understand is that we are all worthy of everything that life, the universe, the divine has to give. We don't have to do anything for our good. It is our divine birthright. For some of you, your first response was to look around to see what other people had gotten. I know. Often our first thought is one of comparison. If I received more than somebody else, I'm happy. If I received less than somebody else, I might feel a little hurt. If I received exactly what everyone else got, I might be a little disappointed, because what's so special about that? I want to be different. I want to be more special than everybody else. You may believe that your worth is tied up to your comparison of everything and everyone else in the material world. Many of us are more than willing to feel superior when we get more. Or on the flip side, more than willing to feel like a victim if we get less. What I want you to understand is that you will never feel like enough. You will never feel abundant. You will never feel prosperous if you are continually comparing yourself to someone else. If you are continually comparing your blessings and your gifts with everybody else on the planet. Another response, as you open that envelope, could have been disappointment and rejection because you did not get what you wanted. You may have already guessed that there was going to be some amount of money in there, because I did say that a portion of our tithe was going to come back to the community. Was the gift not what you wanted? Were you hoping for something more or something altogether different? What I want you to understand is that to immediately focus on what we did not receive is to effectively reject the gift. And when we reject the gift, the universe stopped giving. The flow, the circulation just dwindles down, becomes stagnant, like that blood that's choked off in the reading today. Every time we are unhappy with a gift that we receive, we are really effectively saying no to life. Some of you may have had thoughts of lack and limitation, like, oh, the center shouldn't be giving out money to us. We don't have enough money collectively to be giving it away. Now, what I want you to know is that this is a portion of our tithe. 10% of the money that we received over the month that was going to be going out anyway, because we are a tithing community. We believe in the law of tithing, and we have chosen today to tithe to each and every member of this community with gratitude and with appreciation from the bottom of our hearts. Now, one last response that you may have experienced might have been delight. Delight in what you received. Delight in what you received without fear, without thoughts of lack and limitation. Delight in what you received without comparison. Delight in what you received without judgment. You may have even silently said, or some of you actually said out loud, thank God for this unexpected gift. Again, I ask, after that experience, what is your experience of receiving? What is your consciousness of receiving? Are you open and available to all that life has to offer in all of the ways that it likes to give? Philosopher Kathleen Dean Moore, in her book Wild Comfort, The Solace of Nature, says, failing to notice a gift dishonors it and deflects the love of the giver. But to turn the gift in your hand, to say, this is wonderful and beautiful. This is a great gift. This honors the gift and the giver of it. Notice the gift. Be astonished by the gift. Be glad for it. Care about it. Keep it in mind. This is the greatest gift that a person can give in return. Just to notice it, to care about it, to acknowledge it, to accept it. The bottom line is that our ability to receive is a very important part of the flow of abundance in our lives. When we open ourselves up to receive, then all of life becomes a gift. Reverend Linda McNamara of the Center for Spiritual Living in Laguna Woods, California says, generosity is living with arms wide open, free to give and free to receive. It is the ultimate of embracing the gifts of life and recognizing something greater than we are is the source of all that we have, of all that we give, and of all that we receive. The invitation this morning is to recognize that reciprocal nature. And just see that infinity sign, the reciprocal nature of giving and receiving. The law of giving and receiving is all about flow and all about a balance. And when we give, we create an imbalance. And the universe responds by giving to us. The natural order is to be replenished by receiving. When we give to another person, we may get something in return from that person, or the receiving may come from another source altogether at a completely other time. But what I will tell you is that the receiving will come if we allow it. What goes out has to come back. The invitation is to practice giving generously. To know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are many wonderful benefits for everyone when we give with an open hand and an unconditionally loving heart. The invitation is to practice receiving generously. To receive something from someone. Maybe a compliment or a gift or some moments of their time or a lift to work or a helping hand or anything, to just receive it and to receive it without the deflections. I can hear it now. Oh, this whole thing? Oh, no, I couldn't. To receive anything that is given without deflecting, without qualification, and without judgment. It is that important to the flow, to the circulation of abundance and prosperity in our lives. And lastly, I know that many of you will want to simply put that $5 in the basket as it comes around. Now, I'm not one to ever, really refuse a generous gift. But today, however, I want you to accept that gift. I want you to take that $5. I want you to put it back into the envelope, and I want you to take it home with you and really sit in that feeling of receiving. I'd like you to take that envelope, that $5. I want you to put it somewhere where you will see it a lot and be reminded of the importance of both giving and receiving. To put it somewhere where you will see it and perhaps pay it forward by giving it to somebody else. Yes? Please repeat after me. I am a joyous giver and a joyous receiver. A joyous giver and a joyous receiver. And so it is. So it is. Please turn within. In In this moment, I know that there is just one life, one love, one power, one presence, one creative energy back of everything that there is, seen and unseen. I call this power and presence God, but it goes by many different names: spirit, life, love, peace, wisdom, beauty. I know that it is an energy with no circumference, points of center everywhere. I know that I am one of those points. And just because I know that this is true for me and know that it can't be true just for me, I know that it is true for each and every person here this morning, each and every person within the sound of my voice. And it is from that place of unity that I speak these words of prayer for each of us, individually and collectively. Knowing truly that we are spiritual beings having a human incarnation, that we are prosperous and abundant and wealthy just by our presence here. That life is a gift that we have been given. And that we have everything within that life to live a life of abundance, of prosperity, of wealth, of riches. And I claim for each of us that there is a way to stand powerfully on the giving side of that equation. Giving from a space of respect, from a space of joy, from a space of unconditional love. Knowing that there are many multiple, wonderful benefits for everyone involved. I claim ease and grace for us around living a life that is grounded in receiving. That we open our hearts and our minds and our lives to receiving from people, from the universe. Small things, big things, everything without reservation, without hesitation, without judgment, without comparison. Knowing that it is God's good pleasure to give, and it's good pleasure that we receive. That God can't give without the receiver. We are those receivers. We are those givers. I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. That they are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation. Letting go and letting God be God. And I invite each of us to anchor this prayer for ourselves and for each other simply by saying, and so